Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Three Live Canes. Now back from our holiday break, which is partially due to me forgetting it was Wednesday because I wasn't working, so I didn't know what day it was, but also because a lot of people had stuff to do. A lot of people had some stuff to do around the holiday. The people that are in charge of the college football playoff committee, like they had some stuff to do. Hunter Yurachek, one of the dumbest people I think I've ever seen in front of a camera. He had some stuff to do. He had to remember like some basic phrases that they try to program into his head. And he struggled mightily when they put him on camera. He had some stuff to do. We have some stuff to do here tonight, much of which is to talk about Miami's situation with the college football playoff. And obviously we'll also talk about the recruiting class, because it's funny, like we talked about it before the show started, how signing day used to be like a national holiday. And now, because of where it is, early signing day, like it's almost taken a back seat in a lot of conversations about Miami pulling in a great class, 30 kids. So definitely worth talking about. But before we get to all that football stuff, I open with Bill. How are we feeling tonight?
All right, it's a lot of emotions this weekend, right? You get a big win at Pitt, kind of exercise some demons there. Then the committee poo-poos on us, so to say.
Okay.
And then even signing day today brought in a great class. I remember, back in the day, I would just take off from work and I would just watch all the announcements and the games and the hat throwing and all just the craziness. And you get very little of that these days now that it's basically a professional operation. So you take the good with the bad. We'll get into all that tonight.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff. People in the chat are jumping on it before. Steve, how are we feeling?
I'm big vibing. I can, the committees are, we already know that, but it's signing day. We got a great class, 30 kids, trained around the country, a lot of big classes, big classes. So a shift, a lot of high school guys. This is more of a financial commitment. When you talk about these coaching contracts and they tell you financial commitment, that's more like paying more than 85 scholarship with the new rule that you can get to 105. So that's the type of investment that relates, increases the development aspect. Instead of walk-ons getting those reps, you're getting other guys that were legit dudes there. So you're seeing a lot of these fat classes, especially since, people are leaving left and right in the portal as well. So it was nice to see 30 guy class, 30 kid class. I'm not going to lie. And some dudes on it. I think there's some dudes that could play immediately, and there's some dudes that might be a year or two away from playing and having more of an Ahmad Moten route.
Yeah, I mean, we saw of all the teams across the country, I know a lot of other teams had the opportunity to play some freshmen and have an impact. But, I mean, Miami's right up there in terms of getting impact, instant play freshmen. We saw both of those guys, or the two guys that are at the top of that list for Miami, make some huge plays over the course of last weekend. So
Pringle too.
Yeah, a lot of guys getting opportunities. So we certainly are right at the top of the list of getting these kids in line with, hey, you want to come play? Opportunity for you to get out there right away and make some plays. But so obviously a great class for Miami. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we know what stirs a drink tonight, and that's what happened with the college football playoff ranking that came out yesterday. So we'll play the intro and we'll start yelling. This is 3 Live Canes.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska.
He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Irvin's got it. Irvin's free.
Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, but he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.
Big time players. Step up in big games.
Hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. Devin Hester up to the races. That's what they needed.
That's Ricks going up for Thorpe, and it's intercepted near midfield. Sean Taylor's got another one.
Who else?
Who else but Sean? Who else but us here on a Wednesday night? Who else but Miami fans being pissed off at the college football playoff committee? The second year in a row, Miami has double-digit wins. The first time since 2003, 2004. Teams that were marked by some of the greatest players to ever play in the history of college football. And here we are, back-to-back 10-2 seasons and back-to-back years of being on the outside looking in. to the college football playoff. But I mean, we still have a 1 week left, and we'll talk about that and the opportunity Miami has to get in, because you have to stay moderately positive in situations like this. But right now, we'll just talk about where we are, and that is Miami being outside, being number 12 right now, which on face value sounds great, but not when you consider we still have 2 more dink and dunk conference champions that have to somehow find their way into this pool to get annihilated by like whoever, like what, Texas Tech,
Oregon,
Oregon, or like if Georgia loses, Georgia sliding into the 5 just to go destroy the hell out of whoever was sitting down there. But yeah, so weird spot. But Bill, I'll start with you because I know that I've heard a lot of your takes and a lot of it is rage filled. So I'll go to you first before Steve-O brings probably some more sanity to this. Go ahead, Bill.
This is exactly what, I'm not a smart person. No one has ever referred to me as a smart man before, but whenever this playoff expansion, conference expansion came up, I sat here and I was very passionate, which I am very rarely about topics, but kind of exactly what I said was going to happen played out. We'll start with the ACC mess when I said, hey, not having divisions is stupid, and everyone was like, oh my God, no, this is great. We're going to get to play, I don't know, NC State more and Boston College more than we normally would have. And I was like, no, it's going to lead to unbalanced schedules, and there's going to be some crazy year where some stupid tiebreaker comes into play. And it took like 2 years for that to happen. 2 years for it to get to the 5th tiebreaker, and a 7-5 Duke team is in the ACC championship over a 10-2 12th ranked Miami. Moving on to the playoff. This week, listening to Juracek, I don't know how you say his name. It doesn't really matter. He's just a jabroni.
The puppet.
The big movement this week was Alabama moving ahead of Notre Dame, which was a very obvious ploy to protect Alabama from falling out. Should BYU win, a lot of people were pointing, oh no, that's Miami, Notre Dame, right? That was not about us. That was about the SEC privilege that the bias that we knew was gonna take over this playoff.
A win versus a 5-7 team tied in the 4th quarter.
Which he called a gutsy win, which is how somehow Alabama now moved ahead of Notre Dame. Just absolute nonsense. I saw, Chris, you retweeted what Bruce Feldman said, and it's basically they're just making shit up as they go, and that's become a national narrative now, right? All the fan bases have been saying it, but even the national pundits are like, this is just stupid.
President Trump.
We're almost at the presidential level here. But I think overall, do I think we have a shot at getting in? No. I think regardless of what happens this weekend, there will just be an excuse. I already have them locked and loaded for when we do an exercise later. Just that insane circular logic, just random. What applies to Team A doesn't apply to Team B, which doesn't apply to Team C. And, go on down the list. So I'll leave it at that. I do have just one more random comment before I forget, because it was politicking season, right? All the coaches have to go out and kind of give their rationale for their team getting in. I thought Mario Cristobal handled it perfectly. He kind of stated the facts and said, this is what he thinks, or this is what he believes and what we feel strongly about. On the comparison side, Steve Sarkisian, who I've never really had an issue with, I don't really care about Texas all that much, but he came off like such a whiny little bitch talking about all these, his rationale and just whining about it. Really kind of turned me off to him in Texas. And I will not ever root for them going forward, even though I never had a problem with them. But I thought he just came off really poor in kind of how he was trying to rationalize a 9-3 team that got bullied by Florida, trying to get them into the playoff.
Nail biter with Kentucky.
Yeah, overtime, Kentucky, Mississippi State, all that other nonsense. But that was just awful. Kind of listening to him trying, you run up the score. Maybe we're in a position to run up the score. I don't know. But anyway, that's my rant for the day. Actually, rant one of many, probably.
Yeah, that was solid, Bill. Like, you building that up all week. That was excellent work. Brought in some like source work. He had references to tweets during the week. Excellent stuff. Great points all around. I think the ACC point is something that's worth discussing. Obviously, the fact that the ACC put themselves in a horrible position with the creation of a system that was only going to screw them, and how they didn't see that coming. Like, it would never happen to the SEC. They'd get them all in. It would never happen to the Big Ten. They'd get them all in. The ACC,
they did it with Ohio State.
Yeah, like they didn't. The ACC didn't realize this was going to happen when they changed it to 12. I remember sitting here with you guys and saying, "Okay, like, we got to be this. We cannot be the third ACC team. We have to be 10-2, and we have to be the second team. Like, that's the bottom as you can get." And then people were like, "No, I mean, you could get a lot of it here. It's a down year for." No, that's not the way that they built it. They built it to get one, maybe two, and now our trusty leader, that idiot Jim Phillips, is out there like trying to say at this point we got Miami should be in and the winner of the ACC championship should be in. Like, dude, you might get zero. You might get zero.
Yeah.
If he gets zero, it would be the biggest disaster in the history of the ACC. Like, unquestionably. The Florida State not getting in on their undefeated season is going to look like nothing compared to this. A disaster for the ACC. But but then again, if we don't get in, I 100% want Duke to win. If someone told me right now we're not going to make it, I would be rooting so passionately for Duke to make Jim Phillips look like the biggest idiot in the history of the planet.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it brief. I'm ready for the kids signing day, but I don't think we're getting in. They pretty much, I mean, they literally they say one thing one week and then it doesn't apply to more than one school. This didn't apply. Like, that's a gutsy win. Like, that's what they've been telling us about Notre Dame. Gutsy wins over Boston College, a 1-9 team.
Crazy.
Like, it is definitely crazy out here, to be honest with you, with the committee. They are just, I do think from the fans, it was, a lot of times, we talk about the committee, obviously a lot less when it was 4 teams. But fans have been doing it. But yeah, the national media, everybody, like, it's been, you have commentators, people who are calling your games on ESPN, talking, other than Kirk. Not Kirk. that company man for sure. But it's nice to see it, because maybe we bully them into actually respecting their first 2 things on their list when they say they're evaluating head to head and common opponent. Alabama shouldn't even have jumped Notre Dame. I don't even think Alabama's better than Notre Dame.
Doesn't make any sense. Like, for doing what? Like, what did they do?
They dropped Utah for playing a close game against a bad team.
Yeah.
I mean, Utah fans were, right to kind of be mad that we jumped them. But it's the same logic. Like I was saying, you compare team A and B, it's, this criteria. But when you compare team C and D, it's different criteria. And I think that's what really frustrates the fans. And now that we're kind of in year 2 of this, and other fan bases are being exposed to the hypocrisy because it's impacting them. Like, even, BYU, there's no reason they should be 11. They should be ahead of Oklahoma. Oklahoma, that the whole offensive consistency that they use to kind of downgrade Miami doesn't even apply to Oklahoma, who could barely pass midfield. But it's just, it's just the SEC Invitational. They showed that this weekend. They've proven that in all their rankings. It's just frustrating. To be one in the ACC, knowing that you're allowed one mess up, right? We talked about that in the beginning of the year. You're allowed one loss. It could be a bad loss. It could be a good loss. It doesn't matter. You're allowed one. Once you lose that second one, it's not going to happen, right? They will use any justification to get those, second and third rate SEC teams over you. And they just showed that.
Right. They couldn't wait to do it. And they couldn't wait to have the opportunity to do it. And I'm watching that game watching the game against SMU, you knew that it could have been the tightest game of all time. It could have been we're trying to do everything we could to get that. But as soon as that popped up as an opportunity to say, like, okay, that's your one. You screwed it up. That was your one team to get in there. Then everyone started patting themselves on the back and saying, "Ha, no Miami." And all the other ACC fans that were laughing at us too, saying like, "Ha, no Miami. You're way behind the tiebreakers now. Like, you idiots. Like, that was your only shot to have any sort of representation. And now look at you. Like at best, logically, we're looking at Virginia in the playoff. Chad Morris, quarterback in Virginia against Oregon, like in Outson Stadium. Like what? 73-3, like type of whooping at the lay down out there. Dan Lanning, he'll give his like special teams coordinators, only coordinators got left. He'll just give him the day off. It's like, I mean, you don't need nobody. But it's incredibly frustrating to see how that played out. And like, and to the Bill's point about BYU, like, if you wanted to sit here and argue about how BYU deserves to be, BYU only lost to Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like that's their only loss on the season. Now their second loss could be again to Texas Tech, and then they're way out at that point. They'll be a mile out at that point.
BYU has a better win than Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame isn't beating anybody. USC is their biggest win.
Utah's ahead of USC right now. So.
It's crazy. Great.
And I don't want to I'm not trying to prop up like other teams, but it's just pointing out the hypocrisy of this whole shenanigans that they got going on. Having the people element right over the computers was supposed to be able to take in those factors, right? That hey, team A beat team B. That's pretty clear that they should be ahead of them. But in fact, they're doing everything they can in their power to avoid having to have that discussion, which is just insane. When you truly think about what the college football playoff committee is and what their mission is. They've just turned it into the SEC Invitational. They care more about trying to build a playoff that's going to be the most watched versus necessarily who's the most deserving based on resume and body of work, which is everything you've heard when those SEC teams get ranked as, oh, look at their schedule, look what they've done, look at their body of work. But then that same logic doesn't apply to the Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama, Oklahoma situation.
Like Oklahoma, like if I could talk about Oklahoma for a second, Oklahoma is terrible. They absolutely suck. And watching them play, Alabama has played horribly the past couple weeks, like visibly horribly the last couple weeks, and barely strung out some of these games, and obviously lost Oklahoma. Oklahoma has zero offense, and their best win is Alabama, who we saw was playing miserable football. Our best win was better than their best win until literally this past weekend, apparently, when Alabama beating Auburn moved them up. And Oklahoma is comfortably it.
They have the head-to-head over Alabama, so they have to be ahead of Alabama.
It's crazy.
That's
it. It's crazy that what we're doing here.
Which makes total sense, right? Because they have the same record. They're probably, I don't know their resumes off the top of my head, but they're comparable, right? So Oklahoma should be above Alabama, right? They beat them. You go down the rank. I'm pointing right here, like you guys can see, but go down the rankings. Let's see, one or two spots that same logic doesn't reapply.
They did. They went through every top 25 matchup, based upon throughout the season. That's within X amount of spots, and we're the only team who is within 2 or 3 or it said the same record. Any other top 25 situation where teams have the same record and Team A beat Team B, Team A is ahead of Team B in 8 other spots except for us and Notre Dame.
I mean, look at Texas and Vanderbilt. Texas and
with 3 losses.
Yeah.
We played Ohio State. If we didn't play Ohio State, if you didn't play it, man, come on. You chose to play a real game, and you lost because you absolutely suck.
You dogfight with Kentucky, lost to Florida, but tragic.
They got boat race by Georgia and lost to Florida.
Yeah,
I got to hear people talking about Arch Manning deserves to be in the playoff because he had one good game against Kentucky or something.
I think it was Arkansas. He was snapping. I ain't gonna lie, he was snapping. I was watching it on the quad screen, but Forget them boys, man. We ain't making it, y'all. We'll see.
Real quick though, hypothetically, let's just play a hypothetical out here, Steve-O. Let's play a hypothetical. If there was an avenue, like what would you guys say is the avenue to go? Or Bill's gonna play the role of playoff commissioner here, so like you can sit for a second. So I'll present a hypothetical, and you guys can present what you think, or Bill, in Bill's case, tell us why it's not going to work. But let's say we get to this weekend, right? All right. So our biggest concerns right now are what happens in the SEC. Big Ten title game doesn't matter. In the SEC title game and the Big 12 title game, ACC title game equally doesn't matter. Because even if Duke wins, that spot just goes to another one of the G5, so who cares? So 11-12 is locked away. Let's say, hypothetically, BYU gets beat by 50 points. They lose by 50 to Texas Tech. Chuck Berry, Baron Morton just goes wild. He throws for 497, 6 touchdowns. Absolute madness, right? So they lost by 50. Alabama beats Georgia by 30 points. Just put a whooping on them. Go crazy. Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, 3 touchdowns each. Right? Bill, will that be enough to get Miami into the playoff?
Oh, so are you asking? All right. I'll pretend
You are
you're-
Hunter.
I'll pretend-
You are
I'll pretend
Hunter. You're a check. Arkansas athletic director. Let me know if that's enough.
First, I'm a big moron. But no. Well, Reese, as the rankings have been released here, and you can see Alabama made a huge jump after beating Georgia. We now have them right next to each other. But concerning the Notre Dame BYU Miami situation, we're not going to penalize BYU for having to play that extra game. So therefore, we're keeping them at 11, and therefore the head-to-head does not apply because Miami is not next to Notre Dame.
That's exactly what they're doing.
That's 100% what they're going to do. Because that's 100% what they're going to do. You know, it was funny going into last weekend. I said to myself, going into this or yesterday, I should say, I was like, I bet they put Miami ahead of BYU, so they don't have to risk the BYU was in and now they're going to be out kind of situation. But then I was like, you know what? They don't care about that. They don't care. They're just saying, nah, whatever. Nah, they suck. They're out.
Yeah, it's over.
You do it the opposite, right? So BYU wins, and then let's say Bama loses, right?
Bama loses by 86 points.
Bama loses by 86 points. Okay.
That's crazy.
That's when Bennett comes back. He says, I got one more game in me, coach.
All right. Well, Reese, based on what happened this weekend, Alabama didn't perform that well. So Notre Dame jumped them, and they are now number 9. Alabama, we can't penalize them for losing the SEC championship. They moved down to 10, and BYU lost as well. So just like we moved Alabama down 1, we moved BYU down 1. Now Miami's 11, which is still 2 spots away from Notre Dame. So therefore, the head-to-head does not apply. I could do this all day. I had a lot of plane time and driving time this week, so I'm prepared for any scenario.
I don't even know what other scenarios would fit.
But
Miami schedules Vanderbilt in Hawaii, which is a crazy tweet I saw. Because every team is eligible to play a 13th game as long as they play it in the state of Alaska or the state of Hawaii. So Miami and Vanderbilt fly out to Hawaii to play a game at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. And they have a barn burner. Miami beats Vanderbilt 56-42. And then BYU loses and Alabama wins.
Oh, same rationale applies.
Marcus Freeman leaves Notre Dame to go be the head coach of the New York Giants.
Well,
Pick up right where we left off, right mid-season, just jumping in for the last couple weeks.
What Vanderbilt was really missing in their resume was a quality loss, and now that they have it against Miami, we're going to bump them ahead of Miami, and they will be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, they were looking for that quality loss.
That's the
But-
one thing that they lacked.
The easiest thing about doing this is like I could say whatever I want, just like the committee does, and has shown that they will. But yeah, I do think the only chance we have, right, is that first scenario where BYU just gets boat raced, and then Bama beats Georgia. But I feel very strongly that they're not going to move BYU down. Or if they do, it's going to coincide with Notre Dame moving up in some form. So I would put a percentage on it, like 5% chance that anything crazy like that happens.
There was someone just mentioned the BYU thing. Who was that? Sergio Sanchez. BYU gonna win and Notre Dame will be out. That's when Miami will be number 11. If BYU wins, they move Notre Dame down and they swap us with them to 11. They're like, I'm gonna drive to your house and punch you right in the face. If they put us at 11 ahead of Notre Dame now, out of the playoffs, I will have a panic attack. I would be so pissed off.
If that situation, that is
I'd rather
exactly
get
what's
dropped.
gonna
I'd rather
happen.
them drop us to like 18 for no reason than to move us up to 11 after the fact.
That's what's going to happen if BYU wins, right? Because then somebody has to be out, and they're going to kick out Notre Dame before Bama, and then the committee can just do what they want because it doesn't matter, and then they can justify it. They're like, oh, in the final rankings, the head-to-head matters.
Are you guys in on Canes versus Texas in the Gator Bowl? I mean, it's not named after a breakfast treat, so I mean that's okay. I guess in some parts of Florida, maybe it is, but
If all the guys play, which is doubtful, I would be all about it. But the bowl games are completely pointless to an extent.
they're not all going to play. Like, why would Beck play?
Beck, Bain, Noah. It's basically a spring scrimmage, a pre-spring scrimmage.
Yeah,
A lot of S's in there.
yeah, most of Texas is going to play because we don't have anybody like any major draft guys. Anthony Hill, anyone else like
Arch isn't going anywhere.
Arch is going to play. He's there. Trey Wiser, I don't think is going to leave after this year. All right, so let's use our classic 3 Live Canes thumbs up, thumbs down situation. Possibility that Miami is in the playoff come next 3 Live Canes. Steve's got thumbs down. Bill's got 2 thumbs down. I'm gonna go like this. That got to be a source of optimism here, guys. Mo Canes not feeling it. Oh man, can you imagine if they did that and put Miami in the bowl game against put Miami Notre Dame in the bowl game, and then we whoop them again, even without Beck and all these guys. Emory, 372, 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown.
That's the game where you would just go back to halfback dive, fake
Well,
halfback dive.
Hey, how about this? If we play Notre Dame in a bowl game, Steve, hold on. I think you're gonna like this one. We got Notre Dame in a bowl game, right? We'll play them in the Gator Bowl, whatever stupid bowl, right? And we want to beat them to send a message. Beck says I'm not playing. So we go all week. We talk about feeling good about Emory, feeling good about Emory, all this kind of
Mally
stuff.
at quarterback.
Mally at quarterback. Right. Mally QB the whole game.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, zone read him and Pringle.
Whew.
Mark. I mean, if Mark plays, he might not play.
Yeah, let him sling that thing, man. Let him throw it.
Nah, he'll definitely throw it. He got CJ down. He got CJ back now.
CJ down there somewhere. Throw it up.
Yep.
I said to Bill at some point, it was like, no, Port Knox feeling it. Port Knox feeling good. Michael Becker does not have a thumb. That's a shame. Anyway, well, a non-zero chance that at some point Malachi Tony is the Miami's quarterback for a full game in his college career. Like, what percentage on Malachi Tony being Miami's actual quarterback for an entire football contest during his 3 years at Miami? What do we think?
1.
What are the chances?
Yeah, I say like 2%. I just don't think so. I mean, we're recruiting the position very well. I don't think, Luke Nickel, we just signed Darian Coleman today, and we're probably going to get a transfer quarterback as well. I just don't see him playing a full game unless disaster strikes.
So, but if the game was tomorrow and Beck said no, who would you trust more?
I mean, you got to start Emery and then see how it goes.
Maybe Mally gets like the second half.
If we're oh god, second half. If we'll give Mally Portal quarterback money now, because now, but I mean, he probably was already getting that anyway. But yeah, nah, bro. You gotta start Emery and then see how that goes. I think it would be nice though. It would be nice. I wouldn't lie. I think he definitely gives the defensive coordinator a lot to think about. But somebody in that room, if we have to resort to that, we're in trouble.
Or being real creative. I like how you knew exactly what I was going to say, though, Steve-O.
Yep.
That's like the most fun hypothetical we could have, I think. I know we're going to have a lot of fun when it comes to as soon as the season is over, talking about what portal quarterback we're going to get, because it feels like the portal quarterback class this year is going to be loaded with people who could be guys who could be something. So that'll be fun. Obviously, we still got some guys here, but I mean, hard not to talk about it when it's worked out pretty well for us 2 straight seasons. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. But so any guys, any final thoughts on where we are right now before we switch gears and talk about Miami's 30-person class? Steve, I'll go to you first on this one.
Nah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm get these kids going. It's 30. There's a lot of them to talk about. And I just don't think we make the playoffs. If we could make it to a bowl game, obviously I want to win. We'll get there when we get there. I definitely won't think Beck would play. I wouldn't, he's been in 5 years of college football. He doesn't need to play that game. It's nothing for him. So to protect himself, I would totally understand why he would not play. And we'll get there when we get there. But I do think the position of quarterback is going to be bright for Miami moving forward, especially with Shannon Dawson at offensive coordinator. Just think the offense is, friendly. You could always expect a good O-line.
And very much like a consistency there at the coordinator, and you have offensive linemen that you got to feel good about, even if there's going to be a lot of guys that have not played as much or a lot going into next year, but you got to be happy with the development that we've seen for the guys that have played. So, Bill, final thoughts before we move to the recruiting class?
I think I said my piece. As we get into this, I was looking at the projected top 12, and outside of like the G5s, and Virginia, maybe they don't stand a chance, but I guess Texas Tech and Indiana are the only two that would probably make me happy winning. Ohio State, any SEC team, no. Oregon, no. And then obviously Notre Dame, no. So go Indiana, go Texas Tech. Sounds like a Final Four for basketball, though.
I'll root for Mendoza.
Yeah, Indiana local kid. And Signetti, he seems like he'd be fun on the podium after the game. He'd just be up there effing people, saying, "I told you, I told all of you."
Google me.
Yeah. I'm a bum. You guys said I suck. We never said that. We never said it. But anyway, Brian Hartline to USF. Are we on Jeremiah Smith transfer watch?
No.
I said it to Bill right away. Uh-oh. He wins 2 chips in a row. I mean, you never know. Maybe
that came up when his name was thrown out for the Kentucky job. That was the first text.
As soon as I saw that name pop up. Good hire though for USF. I mean, that's a pretty good to get a guy like that with some real sway. I really honestly assumed his first head coach job is going to be at a P5 at a P4 school.
No, it's probably
lower level,
better. No, it's actually better because as long as you're the highest ranked G5 school, you have an automatic bid into the playoff. So I think it's actually easier if he has the resources at USF to do what he wants to do. And that's probably an easier path than going Big Ten and SEC, even though 5 or 6 teams are going to get in.
Yeah. Fair point.
And it's hard to bring juice to a G5 program, and I think he'll be able to do it, even if he beats out Florida State for those 2nd and 3rd tier Florida guys. He's going to be able to assemble a pretty good roster.
Yeah, are they getting a new stadium, right? Aren't they moving out of Raymond James and getting their own building soon?
I think I heard that. I don't know the details though.
Hey, they're getting money in the program, so can't hurt to have a guy like that develop some players. Go from there. Golesh to Auburn, I think is a good hire. I mean, there's a lot of SEC teams that are hiring G5 guys lately, and I know that there's one case where it was a good decision, and that's Golesh to Auburn. Other cases where it was not so good of a decision that we will have plenty of time to talk about in the coming weeks. But
Did you guys see the social media videos that Florida put out?
Yeah.
No, what was it?
The cringy, like Summerall's like on the phone about signing day, and like it was really weird. Like even if that was like Mississippi State that did that, I'd be like, that's still really weird. That's not even like a. And then he actually wore like the same suit and tie combo that Billy Napier did getting off the plane, which set the Florida fans off quite a bit. But the just if you go on like the Florida football Twitter, it's there.
All right, I'll have to go find that.
I feel like Golesh is kind of like, I feel like it's almost like a weird fit, but it's like not like weird as in bad, but just like I wasn't expecting it. Maybe that's why. But you know, at least bring some offensive juice. They need it there.
That's it. It's the offensive guy going to make it work. And also Blake Baker is the big rumor. Fort Knox said to Tulane to replace Summerall.
Hope so. Keep them away from Dawson.
Nah, I don't think Dawson's going. I don't know.
His name was out there. His name was one of the first few.
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, 2027. There we go. All right, so that's enough of that. We'll stay optimistic, and then you or probably not. We'll see how it goes. But Miami pulling in the class right now. They came in as the 10th ranked class. I could go back over the past couple of years, but I think we've been top 10. I mean, the majority. Every year Mario's been here? We've been top 10?
No. Last year
we were 13. We were 13 last year.
Okay. But
Just
Mario.
Malachi Tony was a 3-star.
I mean, you got to trust these 24/7 people, right? Like in all these like recruiting rankings, they obviously watch every one of these games and make their rankings based upon great film study. So, but but still bringing in a class with some real players in it. 30 people in the class, and it's when you have a 30-person class, you really have the opportunity to get guys like pretty much cover your bases in all aspects. With some positions obviously stronger than others. We'll go through it a little bit. Going to hit on some of the big ticket guys, the guys that we're most excited about. Guys that may be a little bit under the radar, those kinds of things, and kind of talk, hit on as many guys as we can. Obviously, we're also able to bring in some guys very last minute, some flips today that, Miami guys are excited about, or even just keeping some guys like your Dylan Waters of the world, not letting somebody else jump in and steal them away. So, Steve, I'll go to you first. We have a question immediately for you, Steve-O, and I know that you don't like picking between guys at the receiver position, but Sergio wants to know, what receiver is Steve-O most excited about to see next to Malachi?
I'm guessing just out of this class, right?
Out of this class.
Yeah. I was just telling my girl this because I'm working on a video before I jumped in on for the show. Vance, that's my boy. Like, that's my guy. That's my guy. Obviously, I seen him up close in the 7-on-7 circuit. He's a tough cover, and he's just like that. You know what they say about, like first guy in, last guy out, sneaky athleticism, he's a coach on the field. They say all the same things.
Blue collar.
Yeah. Stand up guy. It's like, that's the guy you want in your locker room, all that stuff. Nah, Vance got that juice, baby. White chocolate. I'm definitely excited for what he could bring to the field because he definitely has some deep speed potential, a lot of success with short screens and jet sweeps. I think he's a guy who has a very, very good skill set for where the direction of this offense seems to be going and how we use guys like Malley and stuff like that. Upshaw, he's got a couple jet sweeps now, a couple screens, and people are starting to look to him to make plays in those type of situations, even downfield. So I think he really fits that, even if some guys on the outside take that, because I think he obviously, you could say he could play slot. I think he's going to probably play outside. I understand that he looks more like a slot, but so does Upshaw. A lot of these guys play outside for Coach Dawson.
Steve-O, it looks more like a slot. What does that mean, Steve-O?
Yeah, he's 5'10".
Oh, all right.
He's 5'10".
Okay, all right.
Jacoby George is 5'10" as well. So Shannon Dawson is not scared to put a guy out there who's undersized if they're skilled, and they're great route runners and they got speed and they can make plays on quick screens. So that'll be my guy. Biasness, I guess so. But I like Stafford. Stafford has been a guy that I've been on for a while. So flip him from Georgia. That's big.
Bill, same question. What do you think?
I want to put him outside, Serge. I want to put him outside. We need that type of speed, taking the top off.
Very confusing for the fan base.
Yeah. In terms of, I guess, which receiver, I do like what Spafford brings in terms of speed, but Milan Paris for me, being like 6'5", 6'6", and kind of a downfield threat, I'm intrigued about, just because we kind of lack that size around here for a little bit. But I'm kind of excited to see how that kind of factors into this offense, and what he can become as he kind of rounds out his game. A little bit as he gets developed by KB.
You said a body type that you could always add in and do a lot of damage with, and like you say, playing near or playing next to, we need an 1,100-yard receiver next season.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
I think we might have a guy.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. We might have to do this year. Depends if we make the playoff.
Yeah.
If we get 2 more games in, what's he at right now? He's at like 870 or something like that?
Nah, I think he's.
Where's he? There it is.
He got he's at 970. So yeah,
970.
He got it. He's not the type of guy. He don't need to opt out of a bowl game. He a freshman. He playing that bit. He might be at quarterback.
He's got a shot. I mean, he's got a shot this year, especially if we
just be throwing the ball at the back of his teammates.
It don't matter who's throwing it, bro. We can start Luke, Judd, Emery. He gonna get 30 yards, bro. Them boys could throw a screen. Them boys could pop a pass. He gonna get 30.
Let's make sure it's 4. Got to count these. Got to count these numbers. Good. And then let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. Is there anybody in this class, and Bill, go to you first, a guy who maybe didn't have the juice in terms of like the recruiting rankings that you really like, that you think is better than what, or even just a matter of like people having conversations about him? And it could be because the guy committed early, could be because he's rated a little bit lower on the sites or whatever. But is there a guy, Bill, in this class that you like a lot that maybe isn't getting talked about enough? On the offensive side.
My mind goes to Ben Cogden. He was right an earlier commit. He's from Ohio, so maybe a lot of guys really get maybe got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But I think he's kind of a prototypical recruit for what Mario and Mirabal want to do. 6'7" maybe a little bit on the leaner side, right? 285, but I believe he's a wrestler as well. So maybe not in terms of impact for next year, but one of those guys that you kind of are like, oh, you maybe hear about in the summer of his like sophomore year, that hey, here's a guy, and then next thing you know, he's starting and holding down one of those tackle spots.
Yeah, Duffy fits that type of, we were pulling in dudes of a similar body type in the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, where you get a guy with size, you get a guy that can move, that's a good athlete. Wrestler is always a great addition for any offensive lineman because they able to like keep their body leverage and those kinds of things and move people out of the way. Like Jason Fox and those guys that like the former tight ends that can move around really well and develop them into like pro players. So that makes a lot of sense. Steve-O, same question. Guy on the offensive side of the ball that maybe not as highly thought of by others, but someone that you really like.
I got one, but I don't know if it's for just Canes fan. I think it's more just national. I think Canes fans are sold on Darian. I just think the national outlook on him is just so weird. For him to perform the way he performs, how he went to Elite 11 and performed, how they see him on TV on NFL Network playing 7-on-7, performing. I mean, every time you look at the guy, he's performing, and he's a dual threat, a true dual threat. He's 6 foot, he's 17, 18. He could probably grow maybe another inch or so, but at least he's 6 foot. I mean, I really don't understand how he doesn't have more national prominence. I think Canes fans are definitely sold on him because they're on Twitter looking at these throws like, damn, like that, like, you know, like he got a laser, like just a gifted arm. If it's his size that keeps him out the rankings or whatever, I really don't care. Because I think we got a dog in that, and that's the type of kid you want to compete for the starting job with whoever they bring in the portal. We know it's coming, and as well as, you know, Luke Nickel, who has a year head start on him. So nationally underrated. I think the leader in the class, you know, being a 3-star towards the bottom of the rankings, is just kind of crazy, to be honest with you. But you know, I'm not really, you know, politicking much for the stars. He's kind of really around where Mally was last year, so I'm cool with that. I think that's a guy you would say really doesn't get talked about enough because he's really good.
Steve, you have any thoughts for, you know, obviously there's a lot of other factors that come into play with this, but how far Coleman would be away from being a starter, like at the, you know, the ACC at Miami's level? Like, how long would you think it would take him to develop to get ready for that moment? Like, is he a guy who next year will let's say we don't get a big portal edition and it's like, all right, young guys, let's see what we got. Do you think he's a guy that could compete, or do you think he's a guy that best taking those couple?
I mean, of course he competing. If we don't get a big guy and a big transfer, of course he competing day one. I mean, everybody competing at that point. None of them started before. It'd be Nickel, Judd, and Darian, because no one knows what any of them would be because they haven't been able to put that tape on with the U on their helmet. So day one he'd compete in that scenario. You know, does that? He's very smart, to be honest with you. So I think that's going to help him. Luke Nickel is definitely very smart as well. And he's had a year to absorb the offense. But it would definitely be a competition day one. I mean, Darian just can make throws that just look so effortlessly. The arm talent is crazy. I think like he's one of the more talented passers in the country for sure. He might not have that 6'5" size, and he's not going to an SEC or Big Ten school, so he's not going to get that big bump. But when it comes to just straight up arm talent, I mean, some of these arm angles he could throw the ball sidearm 50 yards on a line. Like it is, he could do some very talented things, and he's a better runner than people give him credit for. I would like him to bulk up a little bit, but he could compete day one in that type of scenario.
Does he remind you of anyone? I know you don't like giving comparisons.
I don't got nobody for him. We're in Florida. We're not used to seeing kids with this type of arm talent. I've never seen somebody with this type of arm talent. I see just the way he can make any angle throw is crazy. He's just a pure passer. We don't really get those down in Florida often. It's starting to get a little bit more. You're starting to see guys at the quarterback position, especially since it's evolved into a more dual threat friendly game. But man, he is something special with the arm talent.
Let's flip over to the defensive side, or like let's overall like grades on the offense. Did we solve? Did we get? I mean, it's hard to say needs now because you get your needs usually filled in the portal. But did we bring in guys like you're happy with? Is there a position that you think like if there's still an opportunity to go get another guy that you would like to go through, or like overall views of our class on offense go?
Yeah, like I think overall, yeah. You hit on quarterback. You brought in a blue chip running back. Wide receiver might be the strongest position. Offensive line is you got your whale, right? Jackson Cantwell, Ben Cogden, Joel Irvin, then maybe some developmental guys, Woodrow, Pickett, Sparks. But I guess we didn't get it to Israel Briggs. I was about to say tight end. I forgot about him. So my bad there. But he's
and
Mueller, yeah, too.
Where? Oh, I scrolled down right by him as I'm looking. So yeah, tight end is actually really strong now. Especially with Mueller. So I think offense. You got to go like an A for that. That's a very strong offensive class.
I know there's a lot of people saying like get another back. But I mean, we loved Maury when he picked us and we went through his tape and everything. So I mean, there's definitely that. Someone earlier in the chat was like, we need a Darren Sproles type. We're getting too many Jerome Bettises, which I thought was funny. But certainly there. But Steve, overall view on the offensive side of the ball.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could have took a second back. Obviously, I don't think we really need it with some of the youth we have at RB. Shamar Brown has time. It's Marty. Obviously Pringle has time. Lyle fully healthy. We know what he could do. So that's not bad. You got Chris Wheatley, Humphrey. So you go in with five deep. That's a good running back room. And then obviously if someone has some attrition, maybe you would have thought you should have grabbed somebody, but at that point, the portal's open, so you can grab a fourth, fifth back if you need to. But yeah, I definitely like the offensive line class in here. I think Ben Cogman is one that goes under the radar because he's not really a local guy, and offensive lineman tape doesn't really circulate Twitter and stuff like that as much as receivers making people miss and are head topping them online. We also got Irvin, who's kind of been like an ambassador online for us. Just a lot of big size, on offensive line, 6'7", 6'5" and a half. I think we're averaging like 6'5" for every offensive line signed. So it's nice. I'm definitely thinking I'm rolling with Coleman. I think you give him a clean pocket. There's a lot of people say, oh, he's not going to be able to see over these 6'7" guys, 6'8" guys on O-line. That's why I think his ability to throw all these different levels is going to help him tremendously, because that's what quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield have to do. Kyler Murray, quarterbacks with natural arm talent, they find a way to get that ball out. The Drew Breeses of the world, the Russell Wilsons of the world, and he has more options because he can move the pocket. He can make plays on the perimeter as well. So that's where that comes in. And then we haven't even talked about Wingo, and Wingo's like that. It's so funny. His 247 profile picture, he has a Gators head cap on, but that boy is a cane, and he definitely shot up obviously the rankings with his senior year. Obviously it's a big emphasis on senior year tape for this, but he's a guy who's going stupid. He's making plays after the catch. He's ready to go at 6'2", 185, ready to make plays immediately downfield, strong hands in and out of his breaks. I think you get four receivers, you get a good back. You get, you're deep on offensive line, retooling there. We know we're just losing some guys. Marco Bell could potentially be back with that JUCO waiver. And then you obviously get Cantwell, who's, if he doesn't start at tackle immediately, he better be at the guard because you don't pay 5-star offensive linemen and not play. You go kick inside and then kick outside when it's your turn like Pancake did. I'm pretty sure Pancake's going to start at one of the tackle spots just because of how good he played guard. But yeah, so I'm excited about the offensive class. Paris was a nice little sprinkle. Anytime you get a 6'6" guy who could take the top off, I like the receiver class, so that makes me have a biased grade. I give it a good grade.
Okay, let's kick over to the defensive side of the ball. Go with the same thing. We'll start with the hiring guys. Best, in your opinion, the best player we brought in on the defensive side of the ball. If you had to pick one guy, or this is the guy I would hang my hat on and say this is the guy I like the most. Again, it doesn't have to be the guy who's rated the highest or whatever, just someone that you look at and say, oh, this is the guy. I'm okay saying this guy is going to be a stud on the defensive side. Steve, I'll go to you first.
I appreciate that. I was like, damn, I hope they don't take my guy, but I don't got to worry about it. It's Jalen Waters. I'm pretty sure you guys knew it was coming.
Yeah. That's why I figured I knew we were going to pick anyway. So.
That wasn't actually my guy.
No. All right, cool. Because
close though.
Well, I'm talking to my girl about signing day, and she's like, Howard, and she asked me about it, I told her Vance, and I had that's my white chocolate latte. And then she's like, who do you, she was like, what about your kids? And then kids you coach, I'm like, oh yeah, Jalen. And Jalen is like that. I mean, I'm talking about, we have a very talented group of corners, right? Lucas, Ethan O'Connor, Damari Brown, OJ. Obviously, they have eligibility. They're coming back. Potentially someone could leave if they want more playing time. I think the substitution at corner was great all year. I think they got plenty of playing time, plenty burn. Obviously, one of those guys might feel like he wants to be on the field every single snap. But hey, I give you that. But it felt like it was good rotation, throughout the year at corner. So thinking those guys stay, he still might find a way on the field. He is so good, man. Just such a natural man coverage corner. There's just DB's panic, bro. He don't panic. That's one of my favorite things about him. Obviously, he has super long arms, patient at the line of scrimmage, so he can do soft press, hard press, with reach. He's very, very, very good. as a man corner. I think he's the best in the nation, and that's why schools like Texas, schools like LSU, all these schools have tried to flip him because he's like that. That's the type of guy they go get at the end of the class, and you see him, in the playoffs making plays. I mean, he's very, very, very talented. I'm super happy that we kept him in the class. I don't think there was any doubt, honestly, that he was going to sign. That phone situation was like one way. So super happy. That'll be a guy I think who could make an impact. I don't care if it's jamming, got gunners. If you put a gunner in front of him, I love the chances of Malachi having a good return because he gets his hands on you. Just very, very impeccable technique, especially press. I mean, even with our cornerback room, if somebody goes down or anything with targeting or anything like that, once he gets on the field, it'll be hard to see him completely out of rotation.
Good. I knew that was going to go that way. I did think Bill might pick that one, but I knew Steve-O had that one like lined up, ready to roll. So I remember when he committed, like we had it was very much the whole show dedicated to that. So it makes sense. Bill, I'll go to you with the same question.
Yeah, when I kind of watched our defense and I saw, Keontae Scott absolutely balling, from that nickel, slot position. I was kind of figuring out like who could take that. Who could take that role over? And it's probably kind of flown under the radar, despite being a legacy, and that's Camden Portis. He's a guy that has excellent ball skills, can cover, but kind of what stands out about him is he's physical. Even though he's only like 165 pounds, 170 pound range right now. But college weight program, gets up to that 180, 185, maybe 190 range. And he maintains that physicality. I could see him kind of having a very similar play style to Keontae Scott.
And honestly, like it really is kind of crazy that it came to point he committed. I mean, how long ago did he commit? It's like
been a minute.
Yeah, he's been, I think, a year for sure. But he's definitely gone up the rankings, and his senior tape is definitely been crazy. Definitely, and I love the fact that obviously he doesn't like to be compared to his dad. It's gonna happen, especially if he becomes a contributor or starter at Miami. They're gonna do it on TV. It's just what they do. But just like the way he's in his own lane, trying to create his own legacy. And playing damn good nickel position, nickel and outside corner. So I definitely think that physicality that's a good call, Bill. To be honest with you, because I think Camden's definitely flying under the radar. Even though when he was just committing, he was a 4-star, but now he's like 116, top 125 kid, top 115 kid. Yep. He's definitely put it on tape.
Yeah, 24/7 absolutely loves him. So there's some variability with like the rankings, but big time legacy, 4-star has somehow flown under the radar quite a bit. Kind of hard to imagine, but it is what it is.
What was funny was that both of you guys picking DBs, and we talked about the DB class quite a bit. But I was thinking that one of you guys would have thrown out Dunnigan as a mention. Like, never mind the fact that his name sounds like it's a chain restaurant in a movie. But based upon what our guys have done at the safety position this year, I mean, you have Jacoby Thomas, who came in, it was like a revelation, playing awesome ball all year long, and then like making big plays in the biggest of moments, and then obviously Bryce playing next to him. Like, Adam Poyser had big moments all throughout the course of the year as well. When Miami's safeties are really good, like it's two positions on Miami's defense. Whenever our safeties and defensive tackles have played at a high level, Miami has been really, really good. It's always been the case. Every great year Miami has ever had in the history of the program. And this year our safety play was right there up there with the cornerback play of being really, really good. So Dunnigan kind of fits that mold. A playmaker, great athlete, guy that, you put him next to Bryce for a couple years. You probably won't get that for more than 2 years. But like you put him next to Bryce for 2 years, like two really athletic playmakers back there in the safety position. I mean, it's a recipe for turnovers, and turnovers win games. So. But DB class, I mean, probably the best DB class we've had in quite a while. Like, I know there was a year we did this where we got like 4 really high-end corners. I don't know if anything really worked out like a super well from that, but
but Tavares Robinson class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. But no, the blue chip ratio at the DB room after getting transfers with eligibility. It's not like we got one and done guys. We got guys that had multiple years of eligibility with Xavier Lucas, Ethan O'Connor, and obviously we recruited Damari Brown and OJ, but who obviously still have multiple years of eligibility. Damari might have even more since he probably has a medical red shirt that he took after being injured versus Florida last year. So definitely. Oh, I don't even know if a 180 is describing it, as well. Like the DB flip from the most god awful defense in Miami Hurricane history to, or at least since like the 80s or after like the 80s, because damn, we was cheeks, everywhere. We couldn't tackle, we couldn't cover. So that left flip, that turnaround is crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a different animal. And then, they were said in the chat, Slapbox said in the chat. But then, part of that deal is we got guys that people didn't think that highly of that were able to turn, really become playmakers here, like a Keontae Scott. If people thought he was like, oh, just get this nickel, he's kind of bounced around, who knows what it's going to be. He turns into a Thorpe Award semifinalist. Like, so having the ability to turn some of those portal guys in there and maybe getting some prospects that we can develop, have with us for a couple years. But a big part of that is finding these gems, these diamonds in the rough. So let's talk about that with the defensive side of the ball too. So Bill, I'll go to you. A guy on the defensive side of the ball, a little bit lower the rankings, not as talked about. It's probably easier with the defensive side of the ball to find such a guy. But who is a guy that you would put in that area that you really like from the lower end of the rankings?
And he's more of a recent commit. That's Isaac Chukwara. Again, kind of following that Penn State under the radar, type vibes, and Franklin, made another push for him, to go up to Virginia Tech. But I think defensive tackle wise this year, right? Maybe lacking kind of the blue chip. That you would hope for, you would want, but if you can't get those guys, you can still find very good college football players, and that's what a lot of schools have done, right? Specifically Penn State. They weren't necessarily in 5 stars across the D line, but they always had monsters and a very productive one. So I look at him as a guy that after again another year or two development. Especially, Damon Lewis is doing, a hell of a job, right, with the Justin Scotts, the Ahmed Mowens. I think we're giving him quite a bit to work with, and he's going to be able to showcase those development skills.
Steve-O, same question. What do you think?
I'm torn. I'll probably go just because I'm torn between either Windman at corner, but I just talked about a corner. So I'm going to go Justin Edwards at linebacker. A lot of people, I got some people in Orlando that tell me this kid is one of the best football players they've seen. So very nice to see us, going back to Orlando. Obviously, Darian Coleman, he's from Lakeland, but he plays at Jones in Orlando. So nice to see us, taking some guys from, a little bit more north, not just South Florida. So getting some guys with talent. And if you watch Justin Edwards' film, he's a playmaker. He's a spark plug. I would not be surprised if he doesn't redshirt as a freshman because he's on special teams on kickoff. Like that just looks like he's the type of guy who could be out there just trying to make a play if somebody takes it out. So I would say Justin Edwards. I think he's a little underrated just because of his size, just because he doesn't project as an NFL guy because of his size. He's a little down. However, those type of guys could be, flowing sideline to sideline, new age type linebackers. I mean, that's what we want. And he's above 200. He's not some of those other guys that we've tried to turn from safety, there. So he's going to probably be 215 this year before camp starts.
Yeah. Kind of got the vibe of back in the day when you'd pull guys like John Beeson or whatever, like where they'd be listed at, 200, 205, whatever. But we knew down the road, like he's a real legit linebacker, but maybe come in. I know, remember Beeson was listed as a safety his first year when he didn't play, but then we knew what he really was when the time went up. But him, and then you put him next to like our newest commit, which we haven't got a chance to talk about, and that's Karsten Bush. We were able to flip get to Miami, a Louisville, Kentucky native coming from one of the big programs in Kentucky. But he's your big body linebacker to put next to an Edwards. He's your thumper, I guess you could say, but guy not afraid to attack and get in the backfield and make plays that way. Let's talk about Karsten Bush a little bit because we never got a chance to give him his full day, but that seemed to be the talk, throughout the course of the day. He's a guy that we're going to get. He's a guy we're going to get. We ended up pulling him. Steve, our thoughts on Bush?
I mean, 6'3", 220 plus. So yeah, he definitely is coming in with a frame that you like for a freshman linebacker. And then obviously you're going to build on that, but that's a great starting place. 6'3", 220 plus. That's a great starting place. You might just be worried about just his body fat percentage at that point, trying to get it as low as possible. But he's definitely a guy who, it's been kind of like maybe I say a week or two that the smoke's really been going on, and then kind of coming into today, everybody was confident about it. Ended up happening. No surprises on. I like no surprises. Obviously, you would love to get a surprise flip. This wasn't a surprise flip, but it's hard for surprise flips nowadays. So I'm cool with that, but definitely revamping the linebacker room. I expect some, not attrition, but we have Wesley graduating, Chase Smith graduating. I think Touré's out of eligibility. Some people are saying he can come back. I don't know how, but I think he's out. So there's going to be, other than Popo, not much experience at linebacker, and I don't know if they're committed to building Bobby up. I'm talking about Pruitt. To be a true linebacker. I think they kind of just want to make him more of a true nickel, with more linebacker-esque, taste. But I could definitely see, some things happening with that there, and then just, free for all to see who's going to get those linebacker spots. Alderman as well as graduating. So it's going to be a very young linebacker group. So come in and make some plays, because I do think Bobby probably gets a good taste at some of that nickel snaps next year, unless he hits the portal. I'm not saying that. Bobby Washington's a good one. He'll be coming fully healthy after that knee injury. But I could definitely see a world where, if safety play is good outside of just Bryce and Poyser, that, Bobby's on the field at nickel, and then in like third down situations, or depending on the matchups, you could see Bryce go back to nickel.
Fair enough. That makes sense. And Bill, thoughts on him real quick?
It's funny you brought up Mohamed Touré. I was pulling up his recruiting profile because I wanted to see how similar they were kind of coming out. And Bush is actually about 10, 12 pounds heavier at this point, at least according to their profile. So kind of just like I envision kind of what his role would be, kind of what we saw from Touré this year. I just hope that maybe we can develop a little bit more, pass coverage ability, and allow him to be more of a 3-down linebacker. But you definitely like the size, physicality. Definitely can play right in a phone booth, which again, you need tough physical guys if you're going to have good defenses in college football, even though it's a lot of spread, right? Everyone's throwing it around sideline to sideline, but at the end of the day, you need to stop the run in the middle before anything else. So this is a guy that can definitely help you do that.
And certainly there's going to be some opportunities on the defense with the way Heather been coaches and the rotation we've had on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously there's going to be opportunities out there, but I know you guys have the linebacker position. Dennis Lopez is worried about the edge position. There's going to be opportunities out there for the young guys to step in, and with you look at the development of guys like Mesidor and where West was really able to kind of come into his own this year, and all these dudes. I'm not really worried about how the defensive guys will though there will be playmakers there. We'll find some guys in the portal if we need to, but we definitely have talent all throughout this defense.
I think the strength of the D line is going to shift inside, right? I know Moten, I guess, probably has a decision to make, but I would think he would come back. But Moten and Justin Scott is probably be the worst case top 3 defensive tackle tandem in the country, going into next year. So kind of how we were maybe a little bit worried about D tackle coming into this year. Kind of just flop that with edge, and can they hold it down long enough for those edge guys to really develop? But those guys got snaps, and then you also get 5-star Hayden Lowe back, off an injury too. It sounded like he was going to get some meaningful snaps this year. So there's definitely options, but
Blunt.
The D tackle spot is going to be the strength of the D line going into next year,
which has traditionally, like I said, been a very good thing. You're solid on the interior. Let those outside guys go out there and make plays. Things tend to work out really well. But so you're going to make plays. Miami has no plays to make this weekend, but there are some teams that could help Miami and stay optimistic, and we'll try to do that. It's up to you guys, but we'll go ahead and get out of here and leave those conversations for next week while we all enjoy the hangover after the holiday. But before we get out of here, you guys know the deal. Bill, final thoughts for the people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Well, I think the selection shows like around noon on Sunday. I didn't even look it up. I really don't know about planning on watching it, but if BYU loses and Alabama wins, I'll definitely at least keep an eye out, right? Because I do have a couple percentage points there. But just keep calling out the hypocrisy and the BS from the committee. It's not going to change anything, of course, but
all it's going to change is 16 teams, Bill.
Yeah. I like to see it. You might see a little bit more hypocrisy on one side than I do. And I like to round out my BS calling out. So keep calling them out. Nothing's going to change. But, hopefully we get a miracle. And then we're talking playoffs next week.
Steve-O, final thoughts for the people.
I'm good. I'm locked in. I'm looking at the bottom of the 247 has, I think, Cantwell's our second highest ever rated recruit. Because it's saying he's number 2 and DJ Williams is number 1.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so he surpassed Santra Henderson. So yeah, that's nice. But yeah, I'm vibing. I think this weekend Canes fans should be vibing. Don't expect to get into the playoffs, just so you don't have to be disappointed if we don't. I'll watch the football games. They're all rematches. I'm looking probably more forward to BYU Texas Tech than Georgia Alabama, to keep it a buck with you. And then obviously Ohio State Indiana should be a good one. I'll be rooting for Indiana clearly. But yeah, I'm probably just gonna vibe, watch some football, and then there's gonna be some good G5 championship games as well. But I just really can't care for the SEC championship, just a rematch, Georgia, Alabama. I'm gonna watch it. I ain't gonna cap, but that's like you see it all the time. You see it twice a year. It's just fatigue at this point. But I mean, I ain't blaming them. They made it to the championship games. It just I don't know how Ole Miss is not in instead of Alabama, but that's what happens when you have these mega conferences. But whatever.
Yeah, something to see. But we'll see what happens. See if good stuff shakes out. Maybe for Miami's favor, at least worth the watch, and give us a day or give us a couple hours of being like, well, maybe, and we'll see where it goes from there. For Bill and Steve, I'm Chris. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. We appreciate you coming on every Wednesday with us and watching. We were extra long today because we missed last week and we had a lot to talk about. We'll see where we are next week when we get to it. Thank you to everybody at CanesInSight for allowing us to do this stuff. And, of course, I want you guys all to remember that Bill said, I am not a smart person. It's currently rolling on the bottom of the screen. It's important to have there. Remember.
Should have made a banner for the Steve Sarkisian comment.
I thought about it.
I'm not going to repeat.
I thought about it. That was pretty good. If I'm here, I have no idea where this one came from. But that was one of the banners that we made. Let's see if I like 10 ends. Now you're a double piner with the classic. This was one that I have no clue where that came from, but that was one. Not cheeks, A++. I want beef. This is the all-time great. And all-time great.
Yeah, I forgot. I think I remember the kid I was talking about too, and I don't want to talk down on the kid, but he's gone down 2 levels already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was definitely throwing out a lifeline.
and of course, while we're here, how could you not? Always remember. Towards the finish. All right, for Steve-O and Bill, I'm Chris. Thank you guys for watching the show. We'll see you again next week right here on 3 Live Canes. Have a good week.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. He's a stud, that Brown, number 98. Irvin's got it. Irvin's free. Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, but he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.
Big time players. Step up in big games.